The backyard was glowing with string lights, the birthday candles were still burning, and my pregnant sister Emily was laughing with her friends. When the gunshot cut through the party like a thunderbolt, she gasped, grabbed her belly, and collapsed. Kids screamed. Adults hit the ground. Cupcakes dropped from tiny hands. And standing at the edge of the yard was HOA Karen in her royal blue HOA uniform with a yellow collar shining under the lights, holding a gun like she was enforcing her own twisted law. "This is an illegal party," she shrieked. Smoke curled from the barrel. Everyone froze. Someone yelled, "Call the police." But they didn't know the truth. I'm the police chief. And tonight, Karen didn't just break a rule. She tried to destroy my family. And I wasn't going to let her walk away. Before I start this story, I want to ask something simple. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories reach across the country. And hey, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. I share real-life, emotional, high-intensity stories every week, and trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. Now, let's talk about the night everything changed. My sister Emily is the kindest person you'll ever meet, a fourth-grade teacher, 7 months pregnant, excited to become a mom. Her birthday party was supposed to be a peaceful backyard celebration with close friends, good food, soft music, and warm lights drifting through the summer evening. But peace doesn't last long when HOA Karen is involved. For months, she had been terrorizing the neighborhood with petty complaints, mailbox colors, lawn height, recycling bins, kids laughing too loud. She fined people for shadows on the sidewalk. She treated the HOA handbook like her personal Bible. But none of us, not even I, the police chief, imagined how far she would go. We didn't know she'd been following us. We didn't know she'd been watching Emily. We didn't know she'd finally snap. But that night, she did. And what she did next revealed the darkest, most twisted truth behind her rage, a truth that shook our entire community. The evening started beautifully, the kind of warm summer night where the air feels soft, the sky glows lavender, and everything seems safe. Emily's backyard was decorated with pastel balloons, soft fairy lights, and a table filled with homemade cupcakes. She insisted on baking even though she was 7 months pregnant. Her laugh floated across the yard, calm and gentle, the type of laugh that made other people smile, without even trying. I stood near the grill, flipping burgers, watching her smile with that big sister glow she always had, even before pregnancy. Our parents sat on the deck. Her husband, Jason, was helping guests find seats. Kids chased each other across the lawn, waving glow sticks we handed out earlier. Nothing, absolutely nothing, felt dangerous. But that's the thing about danger. It doesn't always show up with warning signs. Sometimes it just steps into your life, wearing a uniform and a rage you never saw coming. Even before the gunshot, something felt off. I noticed neighbors peeking from their windows. A few doors down, a porch light flickered. And then I glimpsed something that made my stomach tighten, a familiar figure standing completely still at the corner of the yard, half hidden behind the fence. Royal blue shirt, golden yellow collar, HOA badge shining. Karen, HOA Karen, the walking storm cloud of our neighborhood, the woman who fined someone last month because their trash can lid made a loud noise. The same woman who once stood outside Emily's door for 15 minutes arguing that wind chimes create unauthorized musical disturbances. Whenever Karen appeared, peace disappeared. But tonight, she felt different. She wasn't walking her usual patrolling rounds. She wasn't holding a clipboard. She wasn't muttering about regulations. She was just staring at my sister, staring with a cold, unsettling intensity that didn't sit right with me. I stepped toward her, but before I could take more than 2 steps, the lights flickered. The music cut off for a second. A dog barked from somewhere down the street. Tiny things, but stacked together, they felt like the air was shifting. Jason glanced at Emily. "You okay? Want to sit down?" "I'm fine," she laughed, rubbing her belly. "Baby's moving a lot today." That moment, her smiling, one hand on her belly, the glow of the lights behind her, is burned into my memory, because it was the last peaceful moment she had. The next moment was chaos. What I heard first wasn't the gunshot, it was Karen's voice. Sharp, shrill, like someone ripping metal in half. This is an unauthorized gathering. Everyone turned. Karen stepped into the yard fully now, her face red with fury, her teeth clenched so tight it looked painful. Her hand was inside her jacket, gripping something but not yet showing it. Karen, Emily said gently, please, we're just celebrating, You did not file the proper event notice. Karen screamed. Her voice cracked with emotion, anger, bitterness, something deeper nobody understood yet. I warned you all. I started moving fast now, my instincts kicking in. Years of training, years of responding to unpredictable situations. Something in Karen's expression wasn't normal. Something in her stance, tense, shaky, unhinged. But before I could reach her, she pulled out the gun. Gasps erupted. Chairs scraped. Kids froze mid-run. Emily's hands flew to her mouth. Jason stepped in front of her. But Karen raised the gun so fast and so aggressively he couldn't react in time. No illegal parties. Her voice broke. This neighborhood used to be perfect. The gun fired. The sound didn't even feel real. It was too loud, too violent, too sudden. It hit the night like an explosion. Birds flew from trees. The kids screamed and dropped to the ground. Adults threw themselves behind tables. I felt the shock wave through my chest. I watched Emily collapse in slow motion, like something in the world had cracked open and gravity itself changed. She hit the grass, hands clutching her belly, her face twisted in pain and terror. Jason screamed her name, so loud it tore something inside me. I sprinted, not walked, not ran, sprinted across the yard. I didn't even think. My training didn't matter. My badge didn't matter. Nothing mattered but getting to my sister. But while everyone else was screaming, Karen was frozen, still holding the gun, still breathing hard, still shaking with a hatred that looked like it had been building for years. Her eyes met mine, and something flickered there. Recognition, fear, regret, and then rage. You, she hissed. You think you're above the rules because you're the police chief. But your sister, your whole family, has been breaking the order of this community. My blood boiled. I was inches from her now, close enough to grab the gun if the angle was right, but she stepped back fast. No, closer, she warned, pointing the gun at me now. This is MY neighborhood. I keep the law here. The irony almost choked me. HOA, Karen claiming she kept the law. Behind me, Emily whimpered. The sound made my vision blur with anger. Jason was at her side, hands shaking. Emily, breathe, just breathe, baby. My mom was crying. My dad was shouting for someone to call 911, even though sirens would soon be coming anyway, because I was already reaching for my radio. But Karen's voice snapped me back. You don't understand, she whispered, suddenly breaking. You think I'm the villain, you don't know what she did. What, who did? I shouted. Karen, put the gun down. But she wasn't listening. She wasn't even talking to me anymore. Her eyes locked onto my sister as she whispered. She took everything from me. My stomach twisted. What was she talking about? What did Emily ever do to her? Before I could ask, Karen ran, bolted through the gate like a wild animal escaping, gun still in hand, breath ragged, hair flying behind her. And all I could think was, she's armed, she snapped, and she's not finished. But first, I dropped to my knees beside my sister. Her breathing was shaky. Her hands trembled. Her eyes filled with fear no pregnant woman should ever experience. Stay with me, I whispered. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Sirens were already echoing in the distance. Backup was coming. But I knew one thing. This wasn't just an HOA meltdown. This wasn't just a neighbor losing control. This was personal. And whatever Karen meant by she took everything from me was about to unravel a truth none of us were prepared for. The sirens hadn't even reached the end of the block when the backyard transformed into a scene straight out of a nightmare. Guests huddled around Emily, blankets wrapped around her, trying to keep her calm and conscious. The kids were crying, some shaking, some clinging to their parents. Jason held Emily's hand with a grip so tight his knuckles turned white. But all I could think about was Karen, running loose, armed, mentally unstable, and convinced she had been wronged. No matter how many emergencies I'd handled as police chief, nothing compared to watching my own sister lying on the grass, pale and trembling, and nothing terrified me more than knowing the woman who did this was still out there. I radioed dispatch immediately. "This is Chief Anderson. I need all available units. Suspect is armed, unstable, and fleeing the scene. Last seen heading north toward Willow Creek Road. Blue HOA uniform. Gun in hand. Do not engage without backup. Copy, Chief. Units en route." My Deputy Officer Ramirez was the first to arrive. He rushed in through the back gate, eyes wide as he took in scene. "Chief, what the hell happened?" "Karen happened," I said sharply. "She shot Emily. She's fleeing. Secure the perimeter. Nobody goes in or out until we know her location. And get EMS inside now." As he moved to follow orders, I knelt beside my sister. She was breathing, but the fear in her eyes cut deeper than any injury. "I'm okay," she whispered, but her voice shook. Please find her. Don't let her come back." "I won't," I said, brushing her hair back gently. "I promise you. I'm going to end this tonight." But promises don't calm panic. They only sharpen the need for answers. Because the way Karen looked at Emily, the way she said she took everything from me, it wasn't random. It was personal, and personal motives are always the most dangerous. By the time EMS arrived and Emily was transported to the hospital, my mind was already cycling through every possible piece of history between our families. But there was nothing. Emily barely knew Karen. She had only spoken to her once, months ago, when Karen knocked on her door to complain that her wind chimes were disrupting the neighborhood aesthetic. That was it. So, why shoot? Why snap? Why tonight? When I stepped out onto the street, the entire block was flooded with flashing lights. Officers spread out in every direction. Neighbors peered through blinds. Some stood on their porches, whispering anxiously. Ramirez jogged toward me. "No sign of her yet," he said, "but we found this." He handed me a folded piece of paper they'd recovered near the fence, crumpled, smeared with dirt, but still readable. It was an HOA violation notice, filed by Karen, addressed to Emily. I unfolded it fully. Unauthorized decorations, unapproved lighting non-compliant, event illegal number of guests, property damage, risk health code, concerns fines to be paid immediately, and scribbled violently across the bottom, in angry, jagged handwriting. "You will not take my life away," like she did. I stared at those words, my heart pounding. "She?" Ramirez asked, reading over my shoulder. I nodded slowly. "She's talking about another woman. Someone from her past. Someone she thinks Emily replaced." "So, this isn't about the party," he said. "No," I said sharply. "This is obsession. Projection. Something deeper. And deeper usually means dangerous." I turned to him. "We need her address, inside her house, her papers, her mental health files, everything." Ramirez hesitated. "Chief, you know she's going to fight. She thinks she's the law of this neighborhood." My jaw tightened. She's about to learn she's not. Karen lived only 4 houses down, a neat yellow house with perfectly trimmed hedges, manicured lawn, and a porch decorated with seasonal flags. Everything looked normal. Too normal. But when we walked up the driveway, my gut twisted. The porch lights were on. The front door was slightly open, and the air inside the house felt heavy, like stepping into a place where someone had been screaming just moments before. We drew our weapons, but moved quietly. Inside, Karen's house was spotless. No dust, no clutter. But the walls were covered in pictures, not just any pictures, pictures of community events, pictures of neighbors, pictures of HOA meetings, and pictures of one woman, a woman with short brown hair, kind smile, soft eyes. In almost every picture, Karen stood beside her, smiling, laughing, holding her arm, hugging her, their faces close, their expressions warm. I recognized her instantly. Linda Matthews, the former HOA president, the woman who passed away last year in a sudden, devastating car accident. A woman Karen had been extremely close to, closer than anyone knew. Karen had never recovered from her death. And suddenly, everything made sense. Not in a good way, but in a terrifying one. She replaced her, I whispered. Ramirez stepped closer. You think Karen sees your sister as a replacement? Or a threat? Both, I said. Emily became pregnant at the same time Linda and her husband had been trying. Karen saw Emily smiling, glowing, surrounded by people. Something inside her snapped. Grief, loneliness, jealousy, and delusion. A dangerous mix. We searched deeper into the house and found Karen's office, a small room with a desk stacked with HOA files. But it wasn't the files that caught my attention. It was the board on the wall, a cork board, covered with surveillance-style photos of Emily, pictures from her walks, pictures at the grocery store, pictures in her front yard, pictures taken at night through her living room window. My stomach dropped. Karen had been watching her for months. She tracked her, Ramirez whispered. She stalked her. And she convinced herself Emily stole something from her, I said. He frowned. But what? Before I could answer, my radio crackled. Chief, we found footprints leaving the backyard heading toward the old community garden. Fresh tracks. She's on foot. I looked at Ramirez. Time was running out. Get every unit to the garden, I said. Karen is armed, unstable, and spiraling fast. And if she still thinks Emily took everything from her, I stared at the board of pictures. She won't stop until she feels like she took something back. And tonight, I was going to stop her. For my family. For my sister. For her unborn baby. And for a community that had no idea how close it came to absolute disaster. The old community gardens sat on the edge of a neighborhood, a place the HOA once called a beautification project, but it had been abandoned for years. Overgrown vines curled around broken trellises. Rusted tomato cages leaned sideways, like skeletons. The entire area looked like nature had slowly swallowed it whole. And now, somewhere inside this tangle of shadows and weeds, Karen was hiding with a gun. My patrol car skidded to a stop near the entrance. Dim streetlights flickered overhead, and the uneasy quiet made my pulse throb harder. The other officers arrived seconds later. Ramirez jogged up beside me, breathing fast from a sprint. We found her tracks, he said, pointing to the dirt path. Footprints, small, sharp, fresh, cut through the soft soil. She's inside, moving fast, erratic steps. Erratic, meaning she was still spiraling. Units form a perimeter, I ordered. Nobody moves in alone. She's unstable and armed. She already shot one person. She won't hesitate again. Copy, Chief. The officers responded, splitting in different directions. I clicked on my flashlight, letting the beam cut through the tall grass like a blade of light. Each step felt heavier than the last. Every rustle of leaves made my grip tighten on my weapon. Because this wasn't just a suspect. This wasn't just a dangerous civilian. This was a woman unraveling. Someone who'd built her entire identity around control, order, and her obsession with the former HOA president, a woman she'd lost, a void she never filled, a perfect life she watched crumble. And somehow, in her delusion, she decided Emily was to blame. A branch snapped somewhere deeper in the garden. Ramirez looked at me. I nodded. We moved in. The deeper we went, the darker it got. Trees blocked most of the streetlights. The scent of damp soil filled the air. We passed a row of dead sunflowers, their wilted heads drooping like they were mourning something. Then I heard it. Breathing. Not normal breathing. Panicked. Shaky. Uneven. Karen. I motioned for Ramirez to stay low as we crept forward. Her voice floated through the vines, not loud, not screaming, but broken, almost like she was talking to someone who wasn't there. I told her this neighborhood had rules, a pause, a sniff. She didn't listen. None of them listened. Another pause. She took her place. She took everything. My heart pounded. This wasn't anger anymore. This was grief speaking through madness. We inched closer until we could finally see her. Karen sat on a broken bench in the middle of the overgrown clearing. Her knees were pulled to her chest. Her hair was wild. Dirt streaked her face. And her HOA uniform, the royal blue shirt with the yellow collar, was ripped from running. But the worst part, she was holding the gun in her lap, rocking slowly like a child clutching a toy. I stepped out from behind the vines, gun lowered but ready. Karen, I said calmly, "It's over. Put the weapon on the ground." She didn't even look up. Instead, she whispered, "You don't understand." "Then help me understand," I said, moving slowly. "What did you mean when you said Emily took everything from you?" That made her lift her head. Her eyes were red and swollen, but behind the tears was something harder, something twisted and sharp. "You think she's innocent," Karen said, "but she ruined this community. She ruined my life. And nobody listened when I tried to warn them." "Warn us about what?" I asked. Her voice trembled. She was replacing her. Her who? I pushed gently. For a moment, Karen looked confused, like she was flipping through memories that were tearing her apart. "Linda," she whispered, "the former HOA president." Karen clutched the gun tighter. "She was perfect," she said, voice cracking. "She understood the rules. She liked order. She kept everything beautiful. And then she left, she died, and everything broke. People started ignoring the regulations. They started making choices without me, without us." The look in her eyes made my stomach twist. "Karen," I said softly, "no one replaced Linda." "Yes," she snapped, her voice rising. "Your sister did. She smiled like her. She decorated like her. She had the same soft voice. She stood in front of her house looking happy, just like Linda used to. She took her place." She pointed the gun upward, shaking violently now. Ramirez tightened his grip behind me. "Karen," I said, stepping forward slowly, my hands up, "you're grieving. I know what that feels like. But Emily didn't take anything from you. She didn't even know." "She did," Karen screamed, and for a terrifying moment, she pointed the gun at her own chest. "Because I had nothing after Linda died. She was the only one who understood me, the only one who respected me, and your sister came in with her perfect little pregnancy and her perfect little parties, and everyone loved her." Her voice cracked so hard it echoed through the garden. "She stole the life I was supposed to have. She stole my place in this neighborhood. And I needed to take something back." I froze. This wasn't hatred anymore. This was delusion. A full psychological break. "Karen," I said gently but firmly, "this isn't your fault. You went through a trauma. But you can still choose to stop this. Put the gun down and I can help you. We can get you support. But it has to start now." "No," she whispered. And then she raised the gun, not at me, not at Ramirez, but straight up into the sky. A warning shot. A scream. A breakdown. I lunged. In one sweeping motion, I grabbed her wrist, pushed the gun upward, and pinned her arm against the bench. She struggled, screaming and kicking, but the more she fought, the faster she weakened, until the gun finally slipped from her hand and clattered to the dirt. Ramirez cuffed her quickly, securing her wrists behind her back. Karen collapsed to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. "She took her place," she kept repeating. "She took her place." I stood over her, breathing hard, my chest tight, and for the first time since Emily was shot, I felt the smallest drop of relief. But it didn't last, because as we carried Karen out of the garden, she suddenly stopped crying, lifted her head, and whispered, "She won't survive the night." I froze. "What did you say?" Karen smiled, a hollow, empty smile that chilled the blood in my veins. "She's not hurt because of the bullet," she said softly. "She's hurt because of what I did before the party." My breath stopped. "What did you do, Karen?" Her smile widened. "You'll find out at the hospital." And in that moment, the real nightmare began. Because suddenly, the shooting wasn't the biggest threat. The danger was something else, something Karen had planned, something we still didn't know. And Emily's life was hanging by a thread. The second Karen said those words. She's not hurt because of the bullet, she's hurt because of what I did before the party. Every muscle in my body locked up. My heart slammed against my ribs, so hard it hurt. Ramirez and I exchanged a look, and without a single word, we both knew we needed to get to the hospital now. I grabbed Karen by the arm, forcing her to look at me. What did you do to my sister? Tell me. But she just let her head fall sideways, the same strange, empty smile on her face. You're too late, she whispered. She's already fading. I didn't wait another second. I sprinted back to the patrol car, threw myself behind the wheel, and hit the sirens so hard the entire street lit blue and red. My tires screeched as I tore down the road toward the hospital. The entire drive was a blur, red lights ignored, traffic parted, radio static buzzing in my ears. Every thought slammed the same direction. What did she do? What did she do? What did she do? The shooting was bad enough, but this was something deeper, something planned, something cruel. And the worst part was not knowing. When I burst through the hospital doors, nurses scattered. I flashed my badge and sprinted through the hallway. Emily Anderson. I shouted, "Where is she?" I'm her brother, Police Chief Anderson. The charge nurse pointed. Trauma room 3. They're evaluating her now. She's stable, but there's something unusual. Unusual. That word hit harder than the sirens. I ran. When I burst into the room, Emily lay on the bed, pale but conscious. Her eyes were watery, her breathing shallow. Jason sat beside her, gripping her hand with both of his face streaked with tears. "Thank God you're here," he said. I went straight to her side. "Em, I'm here. You're okay. You're safe. We caught her." But Emily didn't smile. She didn't relax. Instead, she whispered, "It's not the bullet." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay calm. She swallowed hard. "I've been feeling strange since this morning. Dizzy. Weak. I thought it was just the pregnancy." I turned to the doctor. "What did you find?" The doctor looked hesitant. "We're running urgent toxicology now. Her blood pressure is unstable, and her symptoms began long before the injury. The bullet didn't hit anything vital, but something else is affecting her body." Jason's face changed, fear, anger, confusion all twisting together. "Are you saying she was poisoned?" he demanded. "We don't know yet," the doctor said cautiously. "But something entered her system hours ago. Hours ago. Before the party. Before the gunshot. My blood ran cold. Karen's words echoed like a scream in my skull. She's not hurt because of the bullet, she's hurt because of what I did before the party. I stepped back, gripping the edge of the counter to steady myself. This wasn't just obsession. This wasn't just delusion. This was an attack. I said slowly, forcing myself to breathe, "Did you eat or drink anything unusual today? Did anyone give you something?" She shook her head. "No. I was home all day. Jason was at work. I haven't even left the house except to get ready for the party." Jason wiped his eyes. "She just had her vitamins and herbal tea. That's it. Herbal tea." I froze. "Wait," I said sharply. "What tea?" Jason turned to Emily. She blinked slowly. "Karen left a box on my doorstep this morning. It said stress relief for mothers. I thought it was a nice gesture. I brewed 1 cup before getting ready." Everything inside me twisted. Karen didn't shoot her sister out of sudden rage. She poisoned her first. Em only survived the day because she didn't finish the full pot. I stepped into the hallway and grabbed my radio. "Dispatch, this is Chief Anderson. I need a team at Karen Rhodes' residence ASAP. Search for any medications, chemicals, herbal substances, or contaminated food items. Bring everything to toxicology at County Medical. Treat this as attempted homicide." "Copy, Chief." I took a breath and walked back inside. Emily was crying now. Jason held her face between his hands. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know." "You didn't do anything wrong," I said firmly. "Karen targeted you." Emily looked at me, her eyes filled with fear. "Why, though? Why me?" I didn't want to tell her. Not like this. Not while she was hooked up to monitors, shaking, terrified for her baby. but she deserved the truth. I pulled a chair beside her bed and took her hand gently. Emily, she wasn't angry at you. She was angry at who she thought you were. She frowned through her tears. What does that mean? Karen had a friend, someone she practically worshipped, the old HOA president, Linda Matthews. Emily nodded faintly. I remember her. She passed away last year, right? Yes, I said, and Karen never recovered. She didn't just lose a friend, she lost the only person who validated her need for control. The only person who made her feel important. Emily's lips trembled. So, she blamed me? She convinced herself you were replacing Linda, I said softly. Your smile, your pregnancy, your parties, your kindness. In her mind, you were taking her place in the neighborhood. Emily covered her mouth with her hand. Oh my God. And poisoning you? I continued. That was her way of taking something back. Jason cursed under his breath and punched the arm of the chair. She's insane. Completely insane. Before I could say anything, the doctor stepped back in. We have preliminary results, he said. She's been exposed to a plant-based toxin. Low dose, but dangerous for pregnant women. If she hadn't come in tonight, her symptoms would have worsened. Emily began crying again. Jason wrapped his arms around her. How much damage? I asked. The doctor sighed. We're treating her now. We need more tests for the baby. My heart clenched so hard, I almost couldn't breathe. Karen hadn't just tried to kill my sister. She had put my unborn niece or nephew at risk. And then, my phone buzzed. It was Ramirez. Chief, you need to hear this, he said. We searched Karen's house. We found the tea, contaminated. We found journals, too. What do they say? I asked. A silence. Then, she didn't mean to poison Emily. I blinked. What do you mean she didn't mean to? She thought the tea would make Emily calmer and less disruptive. She didn't know it was toxic. My blood chilled. A delusional, unstable woman, giving contaminated herbal mixtures to a pregnant woman because she thought it would restore order. But then Ramirez added the part that made everything worse. Chief, the journals say she was planning to give the same tea to the entire neighborhood at the next HOA meeting. My heart stopped cold. This wasn't just personal. This wasn't just Emily. Karen had been planning a mass poisoning without even knowing it. And the only thing that stopped her was watching my sister smile, one time too many. I looked at Emily, trembling in the hospital bed, Jason holding her tightly, machines humming beside her. And I knew Section 4 wasn't the end. The fight wasn't over. Because now, Karen wasn't just a danger to my family. She was a danger to everyone. And justice was about to hit her harder than she ever imagined. By dawn, the hospital felt like a second home. Cold hallways, flickering lights, nurses moving like shadows. Jason had fallen asleep in the chair beside Emily, his hand still locked around hers. Emily was stable now, resting, her breathing finally steady. But my mind wouldn't rest. Not after what Ramirez told me. Karen hadn't just been spiraling. She'd been planning, obsessing, tracking, projecting. But poisoning the neighborhood? That part didn't fit. Not the way Ramirez said it. She didn't know the tea was toxic. That detail kept gnawing at me. If she didn't know, then where did it come from? Who gave it to her? Or did she mix it herself? Something wasn't adding up. So when my phone buzzed at 6:12 a.m. and Ramirez's name flashed on the screen, my heartbeat jumped. Chief, he said breathlessly, you need to come back to Karen's house. What did you find? A lot, and it's worse than we thought. Karen's house felt even colder in the morning light, air thick with the leftover panic and chaos. Officers moved quietly as they continued their search. Tape marked off the living room, the kitchen, the office with the corkboard full of photos of Emily. But Ramirez was waiting for me in the hallway outside Karen's bedroom. You're not gonna like what's in here, he warned. I stepped inside. The room looked normal at first, neatly made bed, books on the nightstand, a lamp shaped like a hummingbird. But the second shelf on the wall caught my eye. Organized rows of bottles, herbal mixtures, supplements. teas, tinctures, all labeled in Karen's handwriting. Relaxation blend, mind calmer, harmony mix, order and peace tea. I picked up one bottle. The label was shaking in my hand. These look homemade, I said. Not exactly, Ramirez replied. Look at this. He handed me a folder, one they had found tucked inside her closet, hidden behind a stack of HOA newsletters. Inside were receipts from an online marketplace, pages of orders for herbal ingredients, some common, some obscure, some known to cause serious side effects when mixed improperly. One herb in particular kept showing up, one that rang alarm bells the second I saw the name, blue nightshade root, a plant harmless on its own, but extremely dangerous when combined with certain herbs Karen had in her blends. Chief, Ramirez said, quietly, she thought she was helping people. She thought these mixes would make everyone more cooperative. So she wasn't trying to poison the neighborhood, I muttered. She was trying to control it. He nodded, just like Linda did. That made me pause. Linda didn't control the neighborhood, I said. People liked her. Ramirez swallowed hard. That's not what Karen believed. He handed me one more item, a leather-bound journal, its pages full of scribbled handwriting. The entire thing was a record of Karen's growing obsession. Her grief, her loneliness, her belief that she was carrying on Linda's vision, her frustration that the community stopped listening, her fear that she was losing her place, her anger at every small change in the neighborhood. And then Emily appeared in the pages. At first, just mentions. The pregnant woman next door smiles too much. She thinks she belongs here. She is trying to take Linda's role. But then the tone shifted. She glows like Linda used to. She gets the attention I deserve. She ruined the perfect rhythm of our neighborhood. She took the life I was supposed to have. The words grew darker with each page. She must be corrected. She must be calmed. She must learn the rules. She must feel what I felt. And, finally, I will take something back. My stomach twisted so hard I had to sit down. This wasn't about jealousy. This wasn't about the HOA. This wasn't about noise ordinances or party notices. This was about a woman drowning in grief, clinging to the memory of someone she loved, someone she idolized, and projecting that loss onto the first person she saw living the life she wished she had. Emily didn't replace Linda. She represented the happiness Karen lost, the future she never had, the love she was never given. And in her fractured mental state, she decided to shatter that happiness. What about her family? I asked quietly. Anyone we can contact? Ramirez looked down. Her husband left her 3 years ago. She never talked about it, but we found his last letter to her. He handed me a single page handwritten. It read, Karen, I can't live in a world that has to follow your rules. I can't breathe in the order you demand. I love you, but love shouldn't feel like prison. Please get help, before you lose everything. My throat tightened. She did lose everything, I whispered, including the friend who made her feel worth something, including the marriage she tried to control, including the community she tried to dominate, including her own sense of reality. And when Emily appeared, happy, glowing, carrying a child, surrounded by love, all of Karen's pain pointed itself at her. A perfect storm, brewing quietly, for months, until it finally exploded. Before I could process everything, my phone buzzed again. It was the hospital. I answered instantly. This is Chief Anderson. A doctor's voice came through, steady but serious. Chief, we have final tests, and we need you here. Is Emily okay? She's stable, the doctor said, but her baby, there's something we need to tell you. My heart slammed. I'm on my way. When I arrived, the doctor met me outside Emily's room. His expression made my stomach sink. Chief, Emily is safe, he said gently. She will fully recover. I exhaled for the first time all morning. But the baby, he continued. I froze. What about the baby? He paused, choosing his words. Your sister and the child are both strong, but the toxin caused a temporary irregularity in the baby's heartbeat. We intervened immediately. and we were able to stabilize it. My knees almost buckled. "The baby will be okay," he added softly. But another hour, even 30 minutes, and the outcome could have been very different. I swallowed hard, tears stinging my eyes. Thank you so much." He nodded. "But there's something else." Something inside me braced. The baby is showing signs of stress from earlier before the party. We believe Emily had been exposed to the toxin multiple times, in small doses. My breath caught. Multiple times? Are you saying Karen was poisoning her before today? No, the doctor said. Not intentionally. But your sister may have been drinking those teas for weeks. My world tilted. Karen hadn't snapped overnight. She'd been slowly hurting Emily long before pulling the trigger. And suddenly everything made sense. The dizziness Emily brushed off. The fatigue she couldn't explain. The headaches she blamed on pregnancy. She wasn't sick. She was being poisoned, unintentionally but consistently, by a woman blinded by obsession. A woman who believed she was maintaining order. A woman who thought she was helping. A woman who didn't understand the damage she was causing. And now, the truth behind Karen's rage was fully uncovered. This was never about hatred. It was grief turned into madness. Loneliness turned into fixation. Love twisted into delusion. And all of it pointed toward one final thing. Karen needed to pay for what she did, but she also needed help. Because the real villain wasn't just her actions, it was the storm inside her mind. And justice was about to strike that storm head-on. The day of the hearing, the entire town felt different. No HOA flyers. No passive-aggressive notices taped to doors. No Karen pacing the sidewalks with her clipboard like a self-appointed sheriff. Instead, there was silence. The kind of silence that comes after a storm, when everyone is still checking for damage. I walked up the stone steps of the courthouse in full uniform. Not just as a brother, not just as a neighbor, but as the police chief who had arrested someone from his own street. Jason and Emily walked beside me. She moved carefully, one hand resting on her belly, now protected more fiercely than ever. The doctors said the baby was doing well. Strong heartbeat, good movement. We all breathed easier after that. But peace always has a price. Inside the courtroom, people filled the benches, neighbors, former HOA members, even people who barely knew Karen but had felt the impact of her control. Some came out of anger, some out of fear, some out of curiosity, and a few, quietly, came out of guilt. Because the truth was we had all seen pieces of her breaking long before she ever pulled the trigger. The judge took his seat. Attorneys shuffled papers. The deputy led Karen in, hands cuffed, feet slow. She wasn't wearing the royal blue HOA shirt anymore. No golden collar. No badge. Just a plain jumpsuit, her hair pulled back, her eyes tired and unfocused. But what hit me most wasn't how different she looked. It was how small. Without the titles, the rules, the threats, the fines, Karen wasn't a monster. She was a broken person who did monstrous things. The charges were read out: attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, reckless endangerment of a pregnant woman and unborn child, unlicensed distribution of toxic substances. The courtroom was silent. When the judge finally asked if anyone wanted to give a statement, Jason squeezed Emily's hand, and she nodded at me. "You speak," she whispered. "Not just for us. For everyone." So I stood, stepped forward, and for the first time, I wasn't just speaking as Chief Anderson. I was speaking as a brother and as a witness. "Your Honor," I began, my voice steady but heavy, "I want to start by saying this. What Karen did is unforgivable. She hurt my sister. She put my unborn niece or nephew at risk. She terrified children. She shattered our sense of safety in our own homes. For that, she must face consequences." I paused, letting that sink in. "But justice isn't just about punishment," I continued. "It's about truth. And the truth here is complicated." Several people shifted in their seats. "Karen didn't wake up one day and decide to be evil," I said. "She lost her closest friend, the former HOA president, Linda. She lost her marriage. She lost the one role that gave her identity, being the keeper of order. And instead of getting help, instead of being pulled back to reality, she was allowed to sink deeper into obsession while the rest of us rolled our eyes and said, "That's just Karen being Karen." You could feel it in the room, the sting of recognition. Because we had said that, all of us, we ignored the warning signs. I admitted the way she fixated on small things, the way she started talking about rules like they were life or death, the way she watched people, the way she talked about my sister like a problem to solve instead of a person. I looked at Karen. She didn't look back. None of that makes what she did okay, I said firmly. Not even close. But I'm asking this court for something more than just a prison sentence. I'm asking for mental health evaluation, treatment, mandatory psychiatric care, because if we only lock her up and forget her, we're not fixing anything. We're just burying a problem and waiting for the next one to explode. The judge watched me silently. I turned slightly, addressing the people behind me, too. And for everyone listening, whether you live on our street or are watching this later online, I want you to hear this. When someone in your community starts acting off, obsessive, unhinged, don't just laugh it off. Don't say, "That's just how they are." Check in. Report it if you need to. Get professionals involved. Because ignoring red flags doesn't make them disappear. It just gives them time to grow. I glanced back at Emily. She gave me the smallest nod. "My sister and her baby are alive today," I said, my voice catching for the first time, because we caught this in time. But another hour, another day, another cup of that tea, and we might be telling a very different story. I exhaled. So, yes, I finished. Karen needs to face justice. But we also need to face the truth about how we failed to act sooner. Then I stepped back. The judge thanked me and turned to Karen. "Ms. Rhodes," he said, "do you have anything you wish to say?" Karen stood slowly. Her hands trembled, but her voice, surprisingly, was clear. "I loved this neighborhood," she said quietly. "It was the only place I ever felt important. After Linda died, I didn't know who I was. When your sister moved in," she glanced at Emily, I hated her for smiling, for being happy, for having a life I didn't get. I thought if I made her follow the rules, it would hurt less." She swallowed. "I didn't mean to poison her. I just wanted everyone calm, quiet, obedient. But when that didn't work, when she kept smiling, I snapped." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I know sorry doesn't fix anything. But I am. I really am." She sat back down, shaking. The judge took a long breath. "In my courtroom," he said, "we consider both action and intent. Ms. Rhodes, your actions nearly cost a woman her life. You traumatized a family and a community. That cannot be overlooked." He paused. "However, it is also clear you are mentally unwell and have been for some time. The system failed to catch that sooner. Your neighbors failed to take it seriously. Your friends failed to intervene. That does not excuse your behavior, but it does change how we respond to it." He delivered a mixed sentence. A long-term stay in a secure psychiatric facility. Mandatory treatment. No chance of unsupervised release until multiple boards cleared her. Lifetime ban from holding HOA or similar authority positions. Restraining orders protecting my family and others she targeted. Justice, but not just revenge. As the gavel came down, a wave of air seemed to leave the room. People stood. Some whispered. Some cried. Some left in silence. I didn't look back at Karen again. Not out of hatred, but because we were finally done being controlled by her. Months later, the neighborhood looked different. Not just the lawns or decorations, the people. There were more kids outside, fewer complaints. Neighbors actually talked to each other instead of hiding behind blinds or HOA emails. We formed a community watch, but not the kind that spies and punishes, the kind that checks in. The kind that notices when someone starts to slip. The kind that asks, "Are you okay?" before it's too late. Emily gave birth to a healthy baby girl. The first time I held my niece, small and warm and blinking up at me with Emily's eyes, I felt something shift permanently inside me. She should not have been here, but she was. And that meant something. At the first birthday party we threw for her, there were no official HOA forms, no inspections, no measuring grass height, just neighbors, music, kids laughing, lights strung through the trees, and a cake that was a little crooked but perfect in every way that matters. As I watched Emily holding her daughter, I knew one thing for sure. Karen tried to scare this family into silence. Instead, she did the opposite. We became louder, kinder, more protective, more united. And as for you, watching this right now from your living room, your car, your break, at work, I'll say this. If you see someone like Karen in your neighborhood, not just strict, not just bossy, but losing touch with reality, fixating on control, talking like rules are life and death, don't just roll your eyes and say, that's just how they are. Talk to someone. Report it if you must. Intervene early. You might not just be preventing arguments, you might be saving a life. If you watched all the way to the end, thank you. Now it's your turn. Tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? And have you ever dealt with a HOA Karen or someone obsessed with control? And if you want more emotional, twist-filled, real lifestyle stories like this one, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Control is not the same as care, and ignoring red flags can be deadly. I'll see you in the next story.